Look out Facebook, look out Dig. Twitter is the most talked about on the net. The online messaging service generating more than 1,000% growth. But can it make any money? We'll talk to Twitter's inventor, Jack Dorsey. Plus, is this fellow the next Steve Jobs? Amal Sarva wins worldwide accolades for a clever gadget. They face our reporters from Yahoo and Business Week, Sarah Lacey, and John Fort of Fortune this week on Press Here. Good morning. We've talked about Twitter before, but we return to the subject this morning as the service goes from cutting edge and cool to something approaching mainstream. If the company were to make money, now would be a good time to start. Though it's not at all clear Twitter can make money, the service does not charge subscribers and probably can't start now. Advertising is a possibility, but that's a problem too. Twitter opens its network to so many different platforms, it's not clear where or how those ads might be displayed. 7 million people use Twitter, millions more know about it through pop culture and the media.
For the uninitiated, here's how Twitter works. I have no idea.
Twitter allows you to get short messages online or on the phone. So your friend, the sports nut, informs you of the latest trade. Your child's teacher Twitters the latest homework assignments. Your spouse Twitters to tell you he or she will be late because of traffic. And here is the guy who thought all that up. Jack Dorsey is the inventor of Twitter, the company's first CEO. The big talk lately, Jack, is can you make money? But let's rewind a bit. And when you were inventing Twitter, did you ever intend to make any money with it?
Well, we intended to make something we love. We wanted to see this in the world, and we wanted to see it large, and we wanted to see people using it. And you know that when you have a passion about building a technology like that, things tend to work out, and things will work out.
I've seen Twitter compared to Google, that no one could imagine looking back how Google was going to make money, which sounds strange because it makes such a large amount of money. No one looking back could figure out how Twitter was going to make money. Is that what they're going to say? I mean, how are you going to make money?
Well, I think the best thing that Google did is it noticed what users were doing with the search engine, and it emerged a model out of the network itself, out of the service itself. And Twitter is taking the same approach. Users have a lot of needs. Commercial entities on the system have a lot of needs. And we're listening to what people are using it for, and we're establishing patterns. And in some cases, you can charge for those patterns. You can charge for the convenience of that.
I think what's interesting is there's a lot of people who've offered to pay Twitter money, and you guys have not taken it. So,
yes.
And I'm not just talking about venture capitalists. There, earlier when you had some SMS troubles overseas in Europe, people said just let us pay for the service, and you wouldn't let them do that. Instead, their Twitter usage was restricted. And Jason Calacanis and others have offered to pay up to be, suggested people to follow on the site. I mean, you even have people throwing money at Twitter, and you're not taking it. Why do you have to be so careful about, I guess, setting that precedent?
Because we do want to set a good precedent that speaks to the entire service, speaks to the entire network. We have a lot of people, and we have a lot of offers for money. We could definitely make a lot of money today. But does that really emerge from the network? Is that organic to the network? Does that help the network grow?
And by the network, you mean the users, the people
yes.
who made you famous and use you every day.
Absolutely.
Well, tell me, what is sacred about Twitter when you look at it? What are the sort of things that you're not willing to sell out for money as you think about how you're going to monetize it?
It's really the simplicity of the interaction. Just the fact that you can approach the service and in under 140 characters update, and that goes out to the world, and anyone can listen to that, and anyone can choose to listen to your updates or leave them at any time, is really the justification for the service.
So why not let somebody pay you to be a suggested Twitterer that folks can follow? That doesn't seem to violate that.
Does that help other users? Is that valuable to other users? Is that annoying? Is that going to get in their way? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on who it is.
And let's explain to the viewer that you are not in a rush to make money because you have a lot of venture capital.
Yes.
And you guys are still pretty lean considering how big the service has gotten.
That was the next question was, if it's $100 million in venture capital, I understand, yes, it costs bandwidth to send out 140 characters times goodness knows how many. per second, but you haven't really got any expenses.
No, we have some expenses, but we took enough money where we could be patient and we could really listen to what's going on with the users and how the system is being used. We're a very small team in San Francisco. We have 35 employees. We're growing the team very quickly to meet the demand, but we're keeping things small and we're keeping things paced so that we can really meet the challenges that we're faced with.
How many users are on Twitter? No one knows because the normal web metrics don't really represent it because so many people don't come through the homepage. They use
Right.
it on their phone. They use it on third-party downloaded clients. I mean, I've asked you guys this question for years and you've never answered it.
And
So
that
I'm
is-
put you on the spot right now in front of everyone.
That is exactly why it's so hard to quantify, because people update with Twitter, but so many more people experience the messages, see the messages from outside of Twitter, through The Daily Show, through the newspaper, through MySpace, through Facebook. The nice thing about the system is you update once and it goes out to every single medium. It's completely device agnostic.
So you're saying you don't know how many users you have?
I'm
Sarah-
saying it's
Sarah
very hard to
doesn't know.
quantify.
It's more than 6 million though, right? Does that undercount it?
We have a lot of users.
Tremendously?
We have a lot of users.
Now, when you do send out, somebody types in on the web page, on the Twitter web page, what they're doing or something, and it goes out to people's phones. It goes out to various programs, and I'm speaking for the common man who may not fully understand this. Various programs like TweetDeck and things that interact with Twitter and pull the Twitter feeds in. Is that going to cause you, congratulations and my respect for making it open so that lots of people can do it on lots of different things, but is that going to cause you problems later? I mean, a banner ad, let's say just for a minute, you went with banner ads on the Twitter page. Well, they're not going to show up on TweetDeck. They're not going to show up on my iPhone.
You have less control over the real estate.
Right, but whenever you try to monetize a system, you want to look at the atomic unit of the service. And the atomic unit for Twitter is the tweet. It's the update. It's the 140 characters. So if we monetize the system, if we monetize this network, then we need to make sure that it's helping every single touch point that we hit. So our website, SMS, TweetDeck, whatnot, it needs to feel good across all those mediums. It needs to work across all those mediums.
What about search? I mean, what's striking to me about Twitter is that you guys went out and acquired Surmise, the company doing the best search, and it's become such a central feature. And
Right.
People have described you guys as really a real-time search company, a search engine that says what the zeitgeist is, what's happening on the ground somewhere, what's in people's mind, what the people around you are thinking. Do you think of Twitter as a search company?
I love search. I think search is so powerful for us. Not only in that you can type any word and get the pulse of what's going on right now for that keyword or for a location, but you get what's trending. You get to see what people are talking about in mass, and that leads you to discovery. It's not just search. It's this ability to discover something new that might be valuable to you. So more than a search company, I would say we're more of a discovery engine. It allows you to really figure out what's going on around you physically, but also around your social network, around your topics of interest, everything.
I'm tempted to say you could sell that data in some fashion, but of course anyone who wanted that data could just do the search themselves.
Don't be tempted, just say it.
I think I just
It's your
did.
show,
Why
Scott.
don't you?
I think you did. Search works really well for introductions and introducing new content, introducing new accounts, like you were suggesting. If you have someone type in what they're looking for and they're suggested new users or suggested new content, then that feels really good. That feels like, I asked for it, this is my information, thank you for giving it to me. If it's free or if it's sponsored.
Now, you've been getting some criticism lately over just the structure of Twitter or the lack of structure in some senses. Like, you don't know if somebody's coming in and it's actually the real person, like somebody's impersonating Scott McGrew out there.
Which
We
is
just
very flattered. Very
Why would
flattered
somebody
that I was being
impersonate me?
impersonated on Twitter.
And there's the danger of having spam on the service, which could really hobble its effectiveness. And we've seen stuff like that happen on MySpace to email. What are you going to do about that? Is there anything you can do at this point since you're already big?
See, now that one's really interesting because we've had a lot of people from both sides, both like celebrities and users, asking for legitimacy. Is this account official? Is the Whole Foods account really Whole Foods? And that's, the user's asking for that, and Whole Foods is asking to make sure that people know that this is the account. And that requires some customer service cost for us. We do need to verify those accounts. So that's something interesting that we're looking at, and we want to make sure that yes, we do establish legitimacy. We do expose that these are indeed true accounts, that they're not fake, that they're not spam, and they're not annoying. You can trust them.
Jack Dorsey, let's hold that thought right there. We're going to break for a commercial. More with Twitter founder Jack Dorsey when Press Here continues. Welcome back. We are talking to the inventor of Twitter, Jack Dorsey. Jack, when you invented it, when you came up with it in your head, did you have any clue that Jon Stewart would be talking about it on The Daily Show?
Shaking his old man fist at
Right, yes.
You know, that I dreamed of the day.
Yeah, we had Kai Wong on, the inventor of Guitar Hero, last week, and we showed a clip of South Park where they're playing, and he said, you know, that was the day I knew that I had created something. I mean, there's got to be a sense of accomplishment when it's entered the lexicon.
You know, the greatest feeling that I've had is when Obama was giving his State of the Union, and congressmen and women were updating during his speech.
like teenagers.
I have never had, I've never had that sense of accessibility into my government. That was so huge and so inspiring to me that it was like, wow.
And that's to me what's so powerful about Twitter. I mean, when I first heard about the service and started using it, I guess in 2007, there's a real temptation to think it's just frivolous and like, well, I don't want to know if someone's cat rolled over or, you know, what you had for lunch. But it strips away all of these pretenses and walls that we put up about ourselves, particularly the people who are more famous. and it starts to really strip that away so that you see that sort of everyone is just any other person. And that's what I think is so great about how Shaq has used it,
Exactly.
how Ashton Kutcher has used it, how these celebrities who we tend to think of as these like two-dimensional things that have let the press and tabloids abstract them into something else, they're able to just totally reclaim it and be themselves. Of course, that's scary because sometimes people put up those walls for a reason, but I think it's an important cultural movement.
Absolutely, and it's what you make of it. I mean, if you make it boring, if you choose to follow boring people, then, you know, it is going to be a boring experience. It's going to be very, very lightweight. But at the same time, there's a lot of information in those small details of life. Like when Demi Moore, you know, takes a twit pic of her new dress. I mean, that is something that you just do not see. When Barack Obama early on was using it himself and updating about eating oatmeal in the morning, that makes him more human. It does, you know.
Or when Demi Moore, you know, saves a suicidal woman in San Jose, that also makes it personal. Huh?
Right.
Was that something that created a little buzz around the Twitter offices?
Oh, every day we have buzz around the Twitter office.
Now, one of the things that early on Twitter had some trouble with absorbing all of these users and allowing all this text to go back and forth. Casually, we don't know anything about the network. We feel as if that's occurring again, that there is a slowdown in Twitter, the updates are not coming or it's failing to go through.
There were some whales and ice cream cones this week.
Which are symbols, I should say, of failure on the network.
Yes, you guys give us very cute illustrations that only make us angry when we can't use
like
the
to make you
site.
happy.
Right, but how are you on the network? You know, are you scaling? Can you continue to scale? Because your growth is insane.
Well, it's a constant challenge, and you know everyone is back at the office and they're working nonstop to meet the demands of the network. And the network has just the service has blown up in terms of usage, and people are really, really engaged and they're using it nonstop. And our goal is to provide a service that feels like a utility. It feels like electricity. It feels like water, where you just turn it on and it's there, and you don't think about it anymore. You just use it.
So is that infrastructure your biggest cost? Sorry, is figuring out how to not only send messages, because everybody can do that, it seems these days, but do it in real time and do it reliably and have the servers in place? Is that?
It's a big challenge. It's a big cost. It's a big engineering challenge. It's a big operations cost as well, and operations challenge. You know, to architect a system like this, of this scale, for a 2-year-old, you know, 3-year-old company with only 35 people is an amazing feat, and we're looking for the best people to do that with.
Now, another company that had a tiger by the tail, was growing out of control, was having scale issues, and it was very expensive, was YouTube, who sold to Google. And TechCrunch reported last week that you guys were in talks with Google. Is Google trying to buy you, Jack?
We're always talking to many, many companies at once. So we're always having conversations, various conversations about various things.
Now, I think Twitter executives have said they don't really want to sell. There was a deal with Facebook that didn't happen. What price is the magic price by which you guys would sell?
We really don't think about it in that way. I mean, when you create something like this, you have a vision, you have something that you want to see in the world, and you feel finished at some point, and you sell at that point. But we don't feel finished. We don't feel done with the product. We have a lot to go. We haven't really innovated with the product in over 2 years. It hasn't changed in over 2 years, and we have so many
First time
features.
I've ever heard somebody, a founder, say that.
It's
So you're saying
amazing.
500 million, 750?
What would you say, Jack, is your core intellectual property at Twitter? What's the value? What's the thing that you guys know how to do that nobody else can do?
I think the big value that we have is that we're able to listen to the users and how they use the system and how they're building and driving the network.
But technology-wise, in terms of what you might have invented, is there any secret sauce or?
Well, the fact that we have something that's open and simple that allows people to build their own worlds on top of it is massive. That's a new technology. That's something that I haven't seen before.
Simplicity is hard to do. I think that's
Yes.
one reason a lot of competitors like FriendFeed, these very over-engineered sites that people think are very cool in Silicon Valley but don't catch on mainstream. I think simple is one of the hardest things you can
Well,
do. on
Google's got
web.
the algorithm, and YouTube has got some video secret sauce in there. Does Twitter have special technology, or was it a matter of Twitter was there first and has a great layout and design?
I think Twitter has good timing, but also I think Twitter figured out an essence of communication, and we have a momentum now, and we have a product plan that will stabilize that, and we have amazing users building new stuff on something that we just made open, made simple. The at replies, the people having conversations on Twitter today, didn't come from us. That whole system was a behavior that we noticed people using every day, and we just made it simpler. We made it easy to use. And that's how we like to build features, and that's how we're building features in the future. And that's how we're monetizing the system as well.
Jack Dorsey, we'll leave it there. Thank you very kindly for joining us.